Hey everyone, it's Brad and Josh here, and we welcome you back, or for the first time, to We'll Bring the Popcorn, your favorite film and TV podcast. I want to move us into our last review of the show, which is The Bear Season 4. So we kind of got the end of Season 3, kind of felt like it ended slightly abruptly. I do feel like, I'll go ahead and say that I enjoyed this season because we got a lot of the moving forward, the emotional impact. We got these characters finally dealing with things, but it does feel like a Season 3B. Like it does feel like this is the second half of Season 3 more than a Season 4, with a potential Season 5 being the end of this series. The actors are all contracted through Season 5, and with how Season 4 ended, it does feel like we're moving to the end of this series that I have absolutely loved and enjoyed. But yeah, going into Season 4 here, we are dealing with the restaurant is kind of on its last legs here. We get Unc and the computer coming in and putting in a clock and saying, this is when our parachute runs out. This is when we're basically out of money. Like, the restaurant review came in, it wasn't very positive, that, you know, all of Carmi's changes all the time of changing the menu every day. Like, there's a lot of issues that they all have to work through. But what I love most about this season was kind of Carmi, but everybody's journey. Like, everyone is finally dealing with their issues, their problems, their emotional just faults and everything. And you're seeing finally that growth that we've wanted to see with these characters in a while, but it's done in such a kind of a smart, beautiful way that we got, you know, Carmi's finally realizing that he's doing stuff wrong, that he should be leaning on Sid some more, that he needs to see his sister's baby and be more involved with his family, that he needs to forgive himself for things, and that, you know, just there's such emotional growth that happened in this season that was just so well done that I really enjoyed the season. Like, but I say that saying that it's more of a 3B than a 4 is the only real knock I'm going to give on this season, is that 3 and 4 are basically telling the exact same story, just kind of getting the end of the story that they started with Season 3. Like, it's one of those weird things to me that it just didn't feel like a completely new thing that you normally get with a new season, that you're continuing stories on, but you normally get something else. This is more of just capitalizing on what they started in Season 3.
See, I actually don't agree with that take at all, honestly.
How dare you?
I really don't, because what you want moving from season to season is continuation of a story, right? Mm-hmm. You want to see this growth in these characters, and we get that in spades in Season 4. I'm not going to lie. I came in just a little bit apprehensive on what they were going to do, because I feel like in Season 3 they got a little bit away from that character development in a lot of ways in this, and there was some of it, but you got that in abundance in this season, mm-hmm. and it was so well written. And I'm going to step out on a limb and say that this season may have one or two of my favorite episodes of the entire show so far in this season, and if they don't get nominated for Emmys next year, there's going to be something wrong, because they were superb episodes. And I want to say, for me, my 3 highlight episodes on this were episodes 4, 7, and 9. And you can throw 10 in the mix, too, because I think 10 was a very heavy emotional episode, too.
10 was such a brilliant episode in the way that it took place almost 100% in the back alley of the restaurant.
It did.
Of them just talking for the entire 40 minutes or so. But it was so brilliant because they were all dealing with their emotions in the Bear way.
Yeah, and what they do so brilliantly is, like, they finally just be real with each other and talk with each other, and just, instead of harboring resentment and not being open in their communication, they finally, I think, all get to that same place emotionally where they can talk about things, and they're so guarded, and that's something they've all struggled with. I love the emotional journey that Carmi's gone on this season. I love the emotional journey that, you know, Richie goes on this season. I love the emerging friendship with Richie and Sydney in this season, where they've been kind of a little adversarial at each other's throats, and I really think they finally kind of get on the same page and come to an understanding, like especially by the last episode, mm-hmm. where it ends up where it ends up. But there's so many wonderful moments in this episode, or in this season. I think episode 4, with the Sydney-focused episode, where she goes on her own journey, where she's still kind of making that decision if she's going to stay at the Bear and deal with things there, where, you know, it does have that familial element to it, and she's in charge, and she's, she feels personally responsible for the way things are going there and can kind of make a mark that's important to her? Or does she go with kind of your golden parachute opportunity to your unicorn opportunity, where you get full control over this situation and you can work for this new restaurant with this person that's willing to give you literally whatever you want to kind of run things there? And she weighs those options, and she has this date with her, her cousin's daughter, or I think it's her cousin's daughter, like she spends the day with. And it's just this awesome episode for her that it just really highlights Sydney as a character in this and kind of helps her make the decision that she winds up making. And it was just a really powerful episode, and one that she really shined in, I think.
Making a fancier hamburger helper for her.
Right, it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I don't mean to be like fully negative of calling it like season 3B, but it's when you look at the where the story is in 3 and where the story is in season 4, it's still dealing with that same, that they're trying to figure out, really, what are we going to do with the bear? Is the bear going to be successful or not? And you can have that go across multiple seasons, but just the overall story of what they're doing with it did feel like it's a first half of a season, a second half. It's not to take anything away from the emotional impact and the story of it. Yeah. It just felt like it was more closer together than the other seasons have been when it comes to the journey. Because, we do get John Berthol's Michael show up, but it was like the first episode, and we don't really see him again. And we did get another fantastic episode with Jamie Lee Curtis as the mom of her and Carmi, and we will have some more spoilers and stuff in this, but that was really great. Of that, well, the main episode where she gets the Emmy nom for, because it's her and Carmi dealing with their problems and their issues, and she's laying out all of her emotions. Like, that's the biggest thing with this season, is it's a journey for all of the characters to finally deal with healing, about dealing with their issues and their problems with, his mom admitting that she was a bad mom and she wasn't there. She needed to be, and how sorry she was. And, Carmi admitting that he hasn't been running the restaurant in the way that it needed to be. And maybe his passion isn't there for it anymore because that's all he's really ever known. And that, and that he has not tried the hardest with his sister and with his mom, and especially going back to Claire and seeing that it just all felt natural and real and emotional of what he's trying to go through. But I do have to allow, I love the episode. It's the wedding episode. But that also shows some of the growth. Like, Richie has been dealing with this since season 3, that his ex-wife, the mother of his child, is going to be remarrying to Josh Hartnett's character, which he was still really fun and coming back into this. But he's having to deal with, do I go to the wedding? How do I deal with this woman that I clearly still have feelings for, and I don't want to see her being remarried? How do I deal with that there's going to be another dad to my child? And we got to see some good growth about him, just figuring exactly what he is and where he's going and what he should be. And you get some great moments at the wedding where he's actually helping, the new stepdad out, because his daughter goes underneath the table and doesn't want to come out because she doesn't want to do the father-daughter. That had to be the biggest table that I've probably ever seen in a show, because you get like 20 people underneath this table that when you looked from afar, like, it's a long table, but it didn't look like you could fit like 20 people under it to sit and have a conversation. Like, it was humorous in a way but it was a really touching moment, because you get them all going around of like, to saying what they're scared of, and you get a moment where Carmi's supposed to speak, but he doesn't really say what he's scared of, and he gives an answer, but that's not the answer. What he's scared about was not having, like Claire, not having the relationships and the bonds and being alone and all that stuff. And I really loved the moments between him and his sister and with his mom and with Claire about that growth, but also with Sydney, because he's finally, all right, we're not messing with the menu anymore. You want to do this? Go on with it. You don't need my permission. You're my partner, not my employee. And kind of really taking that step back, that I realize I've done wrong and I'm trying to fix it the best I can. And I really love that journey that Carmi went on in this season.
Yeah, for sure. You kind of stole some of my thunder with the wedding episode, which, full disclosure, it's my favorite episode of the entire series.
One of the best cameos that we've had, too.
It's amazing. It's an amazing episode. And what I love about it the most is, like, all these people who have very real problems. And it's what I think so many people resonate with the show about, is these people feel like authentic people. Like, they're not they don't feel like characters in a TV show. These are authentic people going through real life traumatic situations with people who have, bad childhoods with parents that weren't the most present and didn't give them, the attention and the nurturing and the love and the support that they needed growing up. And it really shapes who they are as human beings and adults. And you see so much of that in the world. These characters really feel like grounded, raw, real characters. And what I love so much about that episode is, if you go on this entire journey, please watch the entire show up until this point. Because when you get to that episode, you get all of these people rallying around the needs of a child. And that's really what it's about. It's like this child who, God love her, is her biggest concern, and it's so important to her in the moment that she is terrified of looking ridiculous in this silly father-daughter dance at a wedding with all of their family and loved ones that she's embarrassed about dancing. And it seems like such a trivial problem, but to her it means everything. And she's terrified about it.
And as a dad, it felt very real. Like the kids are going to feel like that.
Like you take a step back and it's like, okay, a little girl with what seems like a silly issue, but to her it means everything. Like, it's a very real fear and problematic for her. And you see all of these characters kind of not only put aside their own petty squabbles to come together for this kid that they all love. Like, they all love this little girl. It's Richie's daughter, obviously, and everybody loves the girl. But then you get this, it sparks this real wonderful conversation amongst them where they're all kind of opening up to help her, and by helping her they kind of help themselves too, to kind of talk about real things.
It was therapy underneath the table.
It literally was therapy under a table. It was a familial therapy under a table where all these people start talking about their fears and just being introspective and having this, and it's kind of symbolic of the journey that they're all on here. And it's so brilliantly written and well done that it's just like, this is what The Bear is really about. Yeah, it's about a restaurant, but it's about these very real people who all have this same love for food and this restaurant and all this stuff, but it's still about the bonds and the family and just life in general. And it's just a beautiful poetic take on just telling how these people are finally starting to kind of let go some of their, some of the things that are holding them back to deal with these issues that they have. And it's just such a perfect encapsulation of this show so far and the journeys that they're all on, that at the end of the day, it's all about helping make this little girl feel better about dancing at a wedding, but it's so much bigger than that. And it's just this beautiful story of, personal growth and coming together, and, everybody kind of having that realization, like, it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to, not only vocalize it, but maybe getting support of the people that you care about in, revealing these things about you makes you feel more comfortable in addressing and dealing with the things that you're dealing with. And it was just a wonderful message, and it was just so freaking good and so well written that it's easily my favorite episode of the series so far.
It is one of the best episodes of the series, yeah. And
fantastic writing.
You also had so much fun in there because you had Sugar and Francie that we've known. We still don't know 100%, but we got a little bit more clarity on it. But it was so fun because it felt like a real squabble and a real fight. And you got an actress, which I'm going to spoil it. You had Brie Larson show up as Francie, which I didn't expect to see her in this. So they've had such huge cameos and so many people, especially that episode. You had Rob Odenkirk come back. You had, Josh Hartnett. You had quite a lot of cameos pop up in that. But I wasn't expecting Brie. And it was just a cat fight. Right. And it was so hysterical because it felt real. They were yelling and talking over each other. They weren't missing a beat. They were like going at each other. And it was so hysterical. But at the same time, they were able to kind of put stuff away, but still like, all right, well, we're going to try to make it work, but I'm going to make this little jab at you. And like, oh, don't you start that. And like, it felt very real and natural cat fight. But I just love that those two played off of each other so well in that catty fight that they had. And it was so good. But yeah, the wedding was one of the best episodes. And we do see, I still feel Richie, and I forget the name of the woman he worked at the restaurant with that he brought into the Bear now. I feel like they're still slowly setting up because he's still dealing with all his issues. He's not seeing that she clearly likes him.
Of course.
But he's not seeing that yet. I think we're going to see that in season 5 where he's going to finally maybe get some more happiness and find someone for himself. But yeah, we really got like it was more about the core. We did get a little bit like Tina, she's still dealing with her struggles of just not feeling like she fits in.
Sure.
And they're told like, well, you've got to get these out in under 3 minutes, and she struggles the whole season of getting that, and she finally gets that down and everything. And you get Marcus, who we find out what they wanted to cut him. They wanted him to be fired because they need to cut money and stuff. And he ends up being at the very end to be the best new chef for Food and Wine magazine. They thought they were going to get a big review, but ended up being like, hey, Marcus, you're one of the best new chefs. And he got some great scenes with Will Poulter, who came back to come back in there. I think that was really good to see that connection and the joking and stuff between them. And yeah, that was really good. It was just it was such a fun season in the way that we got so much emotional growth, and there were some smiles on my face of seeing, Carmi's finally doing this. He's still too stubborn at the beginning, especially with Claire, to come out and say he's sorry and that he loves her and stuff. But when we finally get that, it felt real and natural to his character, because he is very stubborn and very focused on a few things, and we finally get him doing that. But as we briefly mentioned on episode 10, it takes place in the back alley of the Bear for the entire episode, and it's just basically 3 to 4 characters. You've got a few that kind of come in and out, but it's just them laying everything out on the line, and it felt real. It felt natural. You felt Sydney's anxiety building up with everything that's going on. It just felt so great to see them all dealing with their problems and finding that kind of just clarity, but also closure in a lot of different ways, especially between Richie and Carmi. Finally, after so long, dealt with Carmi's like, hey, I was at the funeral, but I didn't know how to be. And Richie thought Carmi hated him because Michael, his brother, was his best friend, and really said he didn't show up. They got that. The said and the unsaid in that sequence was so good, because they're both very proud guys who aren't going to admit a lot of stuff, so they say some things, but you can also feel the unsaid in that sequence, and it was so brilliantly acted between those two, and also with Sydney and everything else too. It just felt good. I love this season because of that emotional closure that it clearly looks like it's building to season 5 to being the end. Yeah, which I'm going to be sad to see it go. But it's always good for it to go out before it starts just feeling like it dragged on. I wasn't trying to be negative calling it 3B. Yeah, it was just kind of the way that it felt like season 3 and 4 are telling kind of one story, that we got the beginning and they got the end of that. And because it kind of ended that abruptly, and we also knew that they already filmed quite a lot of the episodes of season 4, so I think that's why it also felt like that was just the continuation. But it was a brilliant season because we got that emotional closure. We got that emotional growth that we've been waiting for. Sydney finally made her decision, but it didn't come lightly. She had a panic and anxiety attack, and she had to talk to a lot of different people. She had her dad have a heart attack. She, spent that day with, whether it was her niece or the young girl who was the daughter of the hairdresser she went to get her hair done. And, you saw her really fighting because she's got this opportunity that could be really great and really positive, but she feels like, I'm part of a family now, and you have to be better to the family, even though they know that they have this countdown clock where this could be the end. I do feel, and I hope that's I want the cheesy ending. It does feel like the one thing that's going to save the Bears to get the star, and that if season 5 ends with them getting the star, and that's kind of our happy positive. But it does leave us in an interesting place to see where exactly does Carmi's story go from here, because it ends with him making a decision that maybe he doesn't want to be in the restaurant business anymore. Maybe he wants to do something else and move on. It's going to be really interesting to see what Carmi's journey is in season 5.
Yeah, because he's on this journey of finding who he is outside of being a chef. He just doesn't know, because it's all he's ever dove into, and he doesn't really know who he is outside of that. And you'll get that journey for Carmi in season 5 for sure, but I mean, everybody's being set up for some really cool journeys in season 5 too. Like I said, Will Poulter was absolutely fantastic in the limited time that he gets on this show. I love his encouragement of Tina getting her where she needed to. I know you talked about the thing with Marcus, but I wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, and his relationship with Tina was great.
Was awesome as well. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about episode 9 as well, which is that full episode with Carmi and his mom, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, which the dialogue in that episode is absolutely tremendous, and just the the conversation they have where they just lay everything out on the table and he still winds up making her lunch at the end was just
because that's a mom thing. I'm going to make you lunch. Like, Mom, I'm a chef. Without saying it, I'm a chef. I'm going to make you lunch.
Very famous chef here. Let me make you something for a change. It was just such a cool thing because they've done such a good job of actively avoiding each other. Like even in the wedding episode where she makes a very brief cameo where they have that interaction and then they kind of go out and they don't really address it. They come back to it in episode 9, and it's just an amazingly well-written episode that just deals with all this familial trauma between the two of them and just see where their relationship was versus where they kind of end up in a relatively positive place, too. I mean, one of the guys that kind of goes unsung in this a little bit, I think, is Oliver Platt-Zonk. Like, he's a fantastic kind of... he does a really good job in the role that he's given.
He's going through some stuff in this season.
He's going through some stuff, too, and... I think he does a great job that he doesn't get a lot of the praise that a lot of the main actors get in this show, but he holds his own when he's there as well. And, you end this season with that clock hitting 0 and you see what the future of the Bear is going to be in season 5 and how they resolve, where they run into running out of money. Because there's some threads that they could definitely explore in season 5 if it's going to be the last and see what they got to do to ultimately save it. And that's kind of what they're setting up to try to do by the end of season 4. So I'm very excited to see where season 5 goes. If this is going to be the end, how they wrap everything up.
Yeah, as you said, like it looks like Ankh, he's having to sell his house. It looks directly related to, he probably had to put his house on the line for the restaurant, and he's kind of losing his house and having to downgrade. And you see he's really struggling. Like the computer's going in and handling most things with everybody while he's pacing in the alleyways or sitting in the car. I still love that. There's a side story that they're kind of setting up, which will probably be much bigger in season 5, is that the beef is doing outstanding. Like they have got the bear, but they've still got the beefs being sold, and it's doing so well that they're looking at what other business ideas it can do with it, and it comes down to they think they're going to franchise. And I love that scene where Computer finally hears about the franchise idea and he really loves it, and Ankh's waiting for him to get in the car, and he's trying to tell Ankh, and he's just laying on the horn,
so funny.
Refuses to listen to him. Like, hey, I'm trying to tell you something that's a big business thing for you that's going to help us all out, but you don't want to hear it, and he's just laying on the horn.
Like, get in here, we gotta go.
Get in here. Like, yeah, he was great, especially the wedding scene about, Richie's ex-wife who just got married. He's saying, like, I felt like with us and Richie not being together anymore that I was losing the family. And it's like, once you're a bear, you're always a bear. You don't gotta worry about losing us. Like, once a bear, always a bear. It was such, like, everyone got such an emotional connection in that episode. But this whole season, like, it was just so really well done from the emotional growth aspect. That's what you got out of this season, was the emotional growth to these characters. We got them moving to an endpoint. And yeah, it was just so really well done. And I have to say that I didn't realize the actress who played Sugar was Chris Elliott's daughter until she was doing an interview and they were talking about like, what cameos would you like to see in, like, season 5? It's like, well, I'd like to have my dad in there. I'm like, wait, your dad's Chris. Do they just have him come into the restaurant and say, let me mix this up with my strong hand or something, and, like, do a joke like that? I would love to see him make an appearance, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together until I saw that. Then I watched this season, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's his daughter.
Yeah, because I remember her being on SNL, and they included it there. Like, they talk about it from there, and I was just like, man, how brilliant would he be on there too? Just like a side character making an appearance for something. But yeah, just fantastically written show. Like I said, I think, in my opinion, for the tone of the show and the perfect encapsulation of why I love the show so much is all laid out in episode 7 of this season. Like, go watch that episode. Come tell me specifically what you love about that episode, because if you're a fan of this show and you don't feel that way about episode 7, I think you're kind of missing the point of what the show is really about. And it's a perfect encapsulation of everything they've gone through and where they're going to. It was kind of like that flashpoint almost kind of episode where it's just like, it's coming to this point and now we're shooting off into, now we're all going to start healing and dealing with our issues finally. And it's just an absolutely phenomenal written episode that just it encapsulates the spirit of the show. It's just so freaking good. It's my favorite episode of the series so far, in a series that has so many phenomenal. I feel like we say that every season, but they always find a way to sneak one in for me that tends to top it, and this one was brilliant. Episode 9 was a very close second. Like, it's going to rank up there in one of my favorite episodes of the series, too, just for how brilliantly it was written. I'd say it's on par with the episode with her and Sugar last season with the bond they had at the hospital while she was delivering the baby, and then this episode that she gets with Carmi here is just unbelievable. Jamie Lee Curtis, man, crushes in this role. Like, it's so good. It probably is my favorite thing she's ever done.
Yeah, she's been so incredible in this because she gets to be such a very raw, nasty at times because of kind of the woman flawed. She is. Very flawed woman from flashbacks to that. But yeah, she's two incredible stellar scenes between the hospital birth scene and then the scene with her and Carmi. But you also got the bear actually got some... the restaurant itself kind of got its own emotional journey because in this season they're trying to figure out how do they make the bear survive. So they're making changes and making stuff, but it's also they find the heart of the bear, which was one of the sequences I really loved is that they had and it happens a lot at the high restaurants when they have special guests come in, they may make a request and stuff. So they get a request from a family who's coming from out of town, and they were really hoping that they could get a beef, but the beef has been selling out by like 1 o'clock, and they don't do dinner service until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night for the bear. So they were able to provide and bring out using one of the blue trays and bringing out a sandwich with, I love that Carmi and Richie fight over simplest stuff. Like Richie is trying to bring the tray of the beef out to the people, and Carmi's like, give it to me. No, give it to me. Yes, no, give it to me. So he could like cut it up and prepare it in a Michelin star type of way. And then Richie's like, okay, yeah, thank you. But the whole sequence of they get it out there and you get him showing the beef and with the
experience outside,
the reviewer and stuff who's sitting right next door seeing it, you're seeing the heart of the bear being formed, an emotion that as much as they now realize their family is everything to them, that the kitchen is a family now, but also realizing the restaurant is a family. They've got to treat people like they did when it was the beef, that your family when you come here. So yeah, they go outside and they've made snow for them and they have all that scene. Was like it gave the bear heart. It gave it emotion, so that the bear is about family and heart as well. And it just didn't have that yet until now that they finally realized that the bear needed heart to it to survive, to be something that was so good. But it popped in my head about Carmi and Richie fighting over the beef and how it was going to be plated and sitting out there. That's just a cousin fight. That's a brotherly fight between two people of like, no, give it to me. Yes, no, give it to me. No, like just arguing over it.
They've had so many good back and forths, like with their infighting and everything. It's just one of my favorite parts of the show is just them two just riffing on each other, and it's so fun. And you really get a heavy dose of that in episode 10 when they have their moment too, and it's such a good ending, man. Such a good end to a season that has me really excited for what could be the final season of the show.
And so the Bear season 4 was such an emotional ride. We got these characters kind of getting to that point of the story that we've been waiting for, where they're dealing with their problems or dealing with their issues and their emotions, that they're trying to grow and become better people while potentially dealing with the end of something that they fought so hard for. I'm giving the Bear season 4 a 9. Like, even though I said in the beginning that I felt like it was the second half of 3, it's not a knock on it. It just felt like that. It felt more like these two were one whole season because of what went on. But season 4 just gave us such great emotion. Another great episode with Jamie Lee Curtis, and all of the characters just really got a good moment in here where they really got to express their emotion and their feelings and find that kind of growth, where we do feel like we're moving into season 5 being the end. I don't want to see it end, but I just love that we've gotten to that point where that true growth that feels natural has happened. And it was a beautiful story that was told this season.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. I'm going to give it a 9.5. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 is while it does have some of my favorite episodes of the entire series so far, it has 1 or 2 episodes that are kind of, I hate to use the word filler, but less consequential episodes that do still, in a way, kind of move the story forward a little bit with what they're telling, but didn't have enough juice to them to really push it to a perfect season. But man, I want to say that there are 3 to 4 episodes of this that are all Emmy-worthy, phenomenal storytelling episodes that really highlight what I love so much about this show, where it's one of those that you could throw it in the drama or the comedy category, and it would fit very well in each. I still think it leans a little more towards drama than comedy.
It should be in drama.
Because when it's funny, it's very funny. Like, it is a very funny show, but it's so much more in the drama category for me, because you're dealing with real life people with real life issues, and that's how they're written, right? Like, these characters just feel so authentic, and they finally are, getting to the point where they can finally open up and get healed and become the best versions of themselves. And you feel them really finding that motivation this season. And it's just so brilliantly written that if next season is the final season, I'm so glad that they have a point that they can jump off to from here, where they can really not only try to save the restaurant from the very real financial situation that it's in, to also becoming the best versions of themselves to help save the restaurant. I think is going to be a really interesting season that they can write, and hopefully give this the positive ending that I'm hoping for all these characters. Whether or not they all stay at the Bear or not, I don't. That may not be necessary for the end story they're trying to tell if these people really want to get to the place that they're at, but. Man, such a good season. This is one of, if not the best show on television right now, and for good reason. These guys all get nominated for awards. Take what you will about awards and how you feel about them, but these guys get the love that they get, and they're all taking off on their own careers. And I'd love to see that, because you see these guys all showing up in bigger films and bigger feature projects and becoming bigger household names because of the show, and that just goes to the testament of the quality of the writing and the quality of the performances that these actors give. And it's just such a good show. If you haven't watched it, you really are missing out, because in my opinion, it's one of the best shows written today. And it's really rising up my list of favorite TV shows of all time. Like, it's really running up that list for me. And if they stick the landing in season 5, it could work its way into the top 10, maybe even top 5 TV shows for me personally.
Yeah, The Bear and Shrinking to me have been some of the better ones that we've had over the last few years, of the newer shows that are within their second, third, fourth season and stuff. Because like The Shrinking gave us a very emotional, last season stuff. Which if Harrison Ford doesn't win something for his performance in that season of Shrinking, and I feel the same that Jamie Lee Curtis should win something again for this, just because she was so good. And it's just. Yeah, it finally gave us an emotion, because you could say through 3 seasons we didn't get any movement with Carmy on actually kind of dealing with anything and dealing with his emotions. You still got him making the same boneheaded moves that he's kind of done, but he's a very stubborn guy from a very stubborn family, and you get why. And it was just so relieving and nice to see the evolution and the growth of his character, with it feeling natural and not making it feel forced. And like one scene I forgot to talk about too, which was kind of a topper off on the season, is when he finally holds his niece. And he's finally, how do I hold it? Like, I don't know what to do with a kid here.
I don't feel that.
He hadn't seen the baby since she had her and stuff, even though him and Sugar have had a decent relationship. There's still been tension between them, but when he finally holds the baby and standing in the kitchen with the baby and everything was just so good. Like, you finally see that he is growing as a person in every kind of different way. Like, he's finally realizing, I don't know who I am, and I need to find who that is, but I'm trying to be a better brother. I'm trying to be a better partner. I'm trying to rekindle this relationship that I want to have, that I hope I haven't fully ruined it. And like his that kind of final scene between him and Claire, where they both kind of laid it out, and especially the wedding, but everything else, like they're just kind of finally saying that they loved each other and that they were scared and that they're sorry, and all that was real and hard-hitting and emotional. Like, this is such a good show that if you haven't checked out, it is well worth checking out. You can find all 4 seasons of The Bear on FX and Hulu, which you can watch through Disney Plus as well. It is an incredible show. It's just so well acted, so well written. It's one of my favorites that I've seen. I'm glad I was able to get you to check it out, and I knew you were going to love it as much as I did. And it's a fantastic show.
I love it. It's worth everybody's time. Please, if you've seen it, if you've watched it, come to our comments, talk to us about it, please. Like we would love to talk about this show with you and just how much we love it, and hopefully we could share that same love for you as well. To find all of the episodes of We'll Bring the Popcorn, go to our YouTube page, hit the like and subscription button so you're getting our episodes when they drop each and every Monday. If you're listening to us in the audio room on any of the podcasting platforms that we're on, please don't forget to give us a 5-star review. It really helps elevate the profile of the show. And don't forget to go to willbringthepopcorn.com, where it has all of our archive videos, all of our social media information, as well as our merch store, so you continue to support the show in that way. We cannot thank you enough for your continued support.